Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. You might have seen we actually gave away those joycons, you know, the ones that had the SteamWorld build on them. Congratulations to the winner. I'll pop your name down in the description in case you missed the community post. I have not forgot about Prince of Persia. I'm waiting on Ubisoft, who are sending me the code to give that one away. And we're also going to go back to giving away a free game each and every week to the person who leaves the most glorious of normal comments on these sales videos. There are some good chats in this episode, so if you enjoy a bit of a chinwag, then stick around for the barjans and also the, me going off on tangents. What are the best games on sale this week? Well, let's find out.
Today I'm going to tell you about the Raycon Everyday Earbuds, which I use on my Nintendo Switch. Now, having owned Raycon before, I can say that these look and feel better. They're certainly a little lighter than the ones I had previously, and obviously sound better. Not only do they have an 8-hour playtime, you can actually charge them using the case for up to 32 hours of battery life. Add on the fact they're about half the price of other premium audio options. They are a good option for using with the Switch, or when you're doing other activities. So when I'm climbing, I can use the touch features, allowing me to change the volume, play or pause, and even answer calls, and change between 3 different sound modes, one focusing on bass, one on balance, and another so you can hear voices nice and clearly. The sound quality is also very good, with noise isolation and awareness modes that you can still hear sounds from the outside. If you click the link in the description box, or go to the address linked on the screen, you'll get 15% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. Once again, a thanks to those guys for sponsoring this episode.
Let's start with one of the games that I played very early in the Switch's life, and then it changed a lot. Now, it's Human Fall Flat. As you know, this has become a bit of a sensation across all the platforms. It's down 70% to £4.79, but what is it? Well, basically, you've got this wibbly wobbly man that you guide around the stage. If you fall off the edge, he'll fall out of the sky and land back in the stage. And it's a load of physics-based puzzles, but he has like sticky hands, so you can climb up things, pick up objects and throw them. But where the beauty of this one is if you're playing in co-op. Now, you can do 1 or 2 player co-op, or you can go online with up to 8 people, and they added in new levels and new content. And my kids absolutely love this one, but honestly, forget the kids. This one's really good for anyone. It may well be one of the perfect games to kind of unwind after a stressful day, and it has that sandbox feel to it while still having those curated stages. I think my two were basically trying to trap each other inside a door for about an hour and a half. They seemed to find it hilarious, and then the other got shot out of a trebuchet. Good times all round. Now that's 70% off, down to £4.79 until February the 8th. As is often the way, one of the sales that we had last week has kind of gone over to the American side, and it's Disco Elysium, the final cut, down 65% to $13.99. Now, you might not know, but the studio who developed this one have been through some really unusual, tumultuous times behind the scenes. Basically, the main creative director, they got rid of him, and there was no word as to why that had happened. But then I think a load of the rest of the team kind of split as well. It's a real shame. So whatever we see with Disco Elysium 2, it might never match this kind of greatness. Aside from its outstanding soundtrack, it's something about the atmosphere that is almost impossible to articulate. But if you like kind of old school adventure games, but with a very, very adult twist and adult theme to them, then you'll like this. You have to pass different dice checks for the different dialogue options you go for, and it has this incredible narrator as well. I know I bang on about this one a lot, but yeah, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite games of all time, down 65% until January the 29th. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse is a lovely platformer. Now, if you didn't know, this is made by a husband and wife duo, and Shantae got her power, which is like whipping her hair, because his wife used to basically whip her in the face with her hair while he was coding. So there you go, little fun fact for you. Now this one's down to £7.29, 50% off, and they're absolutely beautiful looking games. If I'm not mistaken, it has kind of like a town hub area. It's been a while since I played it, and in this one she has to basically pair up with her nemesis, the pirate Risky Boots. That is a great name. There's a load of different and very unique worlds to explore, and in what is possibly the most awesome thing I've ever heard, you can actually upgrade Shantae's hair. I wish I could do that. It's upsetting. Now, all of the Shantae series are on the Switch, or loads of them, and I think this is one of the best. Just £7.29, 50% off until January the 29th. I would describe A Space for the Unbound as if Donnie Darko had its core themes based around parallel universe cats. Yes, I know, it's ridiculous. But this is also very unusual, and it's down to its cheapest ever price here in the EU, £11.69, that's 35% off. I've got the physical of this one actually from PlayAsia, which incidentally you can actually use our discount code in the description to buy yourself and save a bit of bunts. But it describes itself as a slice of 90s Indonesia. And I don't know what Indonesia was like in the 90s, but it seems their slice is very similar to my slice. Things like having the arcades to go and visit, the guy on the corner smoking a cigarette non-stop. Everything bar the numerous time-hopping cats, really. Even down to the little cinema scene where you're reaching for the popcorn at the same time as your love interest. We do have a full review of A Space for the Unbound. I highly recommend it, and I also highly don't, because it's likely you'll end up buying it today. As I say, 35% off until January the 24th. I don't think I've ever seen a sale on World War Z, and yes, it's Z and not Z. At least it is over this side of the pond. That's down to $9.99, or your regional equivalent. That is by far the cheapest it's ever been. And if you're not sure what it is, well, you can play solo, but it's better if you've got a group of you. If you remember games like Left 4 Dead, essentially it's a team of you fighting against hordes of zombies, and World War Z's got a massive online following. The Switch version, it needed quite a bit of work, and in fairness to the developers, it's not perfect, but they did patch it a lot, and it tends to run at a decent little clip. The scenarios will basically see you moving through a stage, working as a team, fighting off ridiculous amounts of zombies. Like, it's actually very clever technology, the amount they're able to get swarming across the screen, and I was impressed even when it first came out. But it's a very fun game. If you're able to pick it up, I think it's in the US regions, I don't know if it's in the UK, you'll see by the prices below. That's 75% until January the 29th. Eastward has another new sale. It takes it 40% down to £13.19, and I think they may have actually adjusted their base price. But yeah, that's a really nice little discount. It's a funny old game, Eastward. Some people, like myself, absolutely love it, and for others it just didn't click at all. It was quite Marmitey in that regard. Marmitey, is that actually like a... That's an adjective, isn't it? He was quite Marmitey, that guy. But Eastward is the same. Now, for those of us who love it, I think the things that endeared us to it were, well, one, the relationship between the main protagonist and the young girl that he kind of adopts. 2, the journey that takes you eastward on the tram system. And 3, for me, it was the weird aspects. I am quite weird, as you probably figured out by now. And I love it in games when it all goes a bit awry and you're like, what on earth is happening here? It just kind of wakes me up from the same old, same old. I love these big JRPGs and stuff like that, but when it's like, the princess has been taken, go and get her. The monsters are attacking the world. Destroy them all. I find it very, very difficult to care. Whereas things like this and A Space for the Unbound, where it's like the parallel universe hopping cats have come. I'm like, yes, please, sign me up. So Eastward, very, very much a game that I hold dear to my heart. I've ordered the soundtrack, I've got the physical. It's 40% off until February the 5th. As we knew it would, the Batman Arkham Trilogy is already starting to see some significant discounts. Now, I have been really keeping my eye on this one to see if they patch up Arkham Knight. Now, I should imagine it's taken some serious work, and we haven't seen anything yet, but there has been a patch already on City. Was it City or was it Asylum? I think it was Asylum, actually, that improved the performance over there. So they're working their way through it, and I'm sure they'll get there in the end. But the Arkham Trilogy is still enjoyable, you know, apart from that third game, which, I mean, it is still enjoyable. It's just the performance is terrible. I mean, is that like does that cancel itself? Is that like an oxymoron? It might well be. It's down 40% though. So, I mean, you could kind of slice that 40% out, just count that as Arkham Knight, and have a nice little package there down to $35.99 in the US regions. That's the cheapest it's been so far until January the 30th. You're getting 3 of the best games, in my opinion, best action third-person games ever made, and hopefully with the thought that they'll actually patch the third one up. That sale goes on until January the 30th. Yes, I'm well happy to see this one. We've got Afterimage down 40% to £12.59. Now, I bet most of you won't have even seen this one. It was a Metroidvania that dropped like in the middle of nowhere, and I think I was one of the only people to review it, and I absolutely loved it. It got a really high score. They have since patched this a number of times. It's kind of pointless me doing an all patched up on it because it ran well at the start, but now it's like really good. This is a Metroidvania for hardcore Metroidvania players, and what I mean by that is it's difficult, but it's easy to get lost, right? Like, it's a big world. There's some really difficult enemies in here. There's 170 different enemies to fight, over 50 NPCs to talk to, and yeah, they've got the usual like baloney that they come out with. Young traveller, blah 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 blah, whatever. But it has that mystique that's quite difficult to, not to fake, but to force into your game. I think this is a real hidden gem. So if you like your Metroidvanias, then do consider that one. It is 40% off, down to $12.59 until January the 31st. The GRANDIA HD Collection, that's a great collection of RPGs. That's down to half price, $19.99 in the US regions. Two of the best RPGs that have ever been made, finally in a portable form factor, with everything now running, as the title suggests, in HD. Now, it runs well, but it's the gameplay here. Kind of, if you enjoyed things like Breath of Fire back in the day, Breath of Fire 3 for the win, then you'll like the GRANDIA Collection. There are some clunkier aspects to it. Obviously, it's an older title. I would suggest going and checking out a review from someone like Jordan over at SwitchUp, but it is well worth that price. Ooh, let's end with just a glorious bundle. If you've got a little bit of spending money left over from Christmas, and maybe you haven't picked up a game in a while, yeah, that's not me. This is such a good pack of games. You've got Dead Cells, the Medley of Pain bundle, which is down 30%. That's the cheapest it's ever been. And it includes Dead Cells, which, as you probably know, is one of, if not the best roguelites. And that includes Hades, in my opinion. I think in terms of pure roguelite pick up and play, this is like, ooh, so good. This bundle includes the base game, the Return to Castlevania DLC, which we reviewed, the Bad Seed DLC, which we reviewed, the Fatal Falls DLC, the Queen of the Sea DLC, and the Rise of the Giant DLC, all in one glorious package. So yeah, if you're looking for a new game, maybe you're someone that doesn't have a ludicrous backlog like the rest of us, then you could really do a lot worse than the Dead Cells Medley of Pain bundle, which is on sale $25.19, 30% off until January the 31st. I realise I didn't even say what it's about. It's if you took Prince of Persia from the olden days, souped it up, made it 60 frames per second, gave you 3 different weapon types to choose from that are colour coded, and then set you off on a journey through stages that you can kind of decide. You can go down to the sewers and make your way that way, and then there are bosses at the end of some of those stages. When you die, you kind of go back to the start, but you will have unlocked a load of these hanging vials that have different abilities. It's a roguelite, but it is just so well done. That is Dead Cells in a nutshell. Which takes us on to our Savaloys selection, a series of games so cheap you would be hard pressed to pick yourself up a floppy What? You can't use the word. You can't use the word floppy and it be okay. You definitely can't say floppy red sausage. You'd be hard pressed to find yourself you'd be hard pressed to find yourself a Savaloy, which is a large red sausage, for the same price as these games. Will that do? I think that'll do. First up, a little Savaloy gem in Bot Vice. That's down 80% to $1.99. It's a fast-paced action arcade shooter with tons of different content in there, different difficulty modes, and a 90s synth rock soundtrack. Moonlighter, maybe you're new to the Nintendo Switch and haven't heard or played this one. Just £2.24, 90% off. Run a shop in the day, go out spelunking at night, and then bring all your loot back and sell it to the unwitting inhabitants of your village. If you're a Terry Pratchett fan, then definitely consider Lost Worlds Beyond the Page. This one's written by his daughter Rihanna, and it's like a 2D adventure platformer that takes place through a book. It's very clever, it works really well, and it's quite emotional as well. That one's 90% off, down to $1.19. Scully is a lovely little adventure game, that's down 90% as well. Scully finds himself reanimated with a second chance at life and has to make his way across a mysterious island. Last but not least, in the US regions, you've got Dust and Neon. 90% off, the cheapest it's ever been, $1.99. A really very good roguelite with a Wild West setting, twin stick controls, and a really interesting mechanic to reload your guns. You've almost got to put each bullet into it. Might sound boring, but yeah, it's really good. So there we have it. As I said at the start, I want to give away a free game each week again, because we have, a few codes in here and there sat around, and it's a nice thing to do. So make sure you're subscribed, all the notifications are on, all that silly stuff, and just leave your normal comments down below. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. I hope you're having a lovely weekend, and as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep a switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!